Hi, Janeen Vosper here from Speech Perfect. I am so excited to be with Prosper with the online prosperity show. And I think I'm going to challenge a few people with ideas of what you think you might think about yourself and how you can build confidence by stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something that's going to make you uncomfortable. There's a whole lot more to come.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we're going to be stepping into the world of confidence, authority, and unstoppable success with none other than Janeen Vosper. Now, Janeen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Prosper. It's so good to be on. We've chatted on and off over the years, and I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely. You see, Janine, I'd actually looking through my past shows and I was like, wait a minute, I haven't had Janine on the show. How is that possible? But it's been a long time in the making. So good things come to those that can wait, right?
Oh, absolutely. No, this is going to be fun.
Absolutely. Now, for those that are watching right now, thank you so much for tuning in to the Online Prosperity Show. Like I said, today we've got none other than Janeen, who is a multi-award winning speaker, sales coach, and branding expert. Now, you will come to find that Janeen has spent over 30 years transforming the way professionals communicate. But she's been working for 50 years as of the time we're recording this show today. So there's going to be a lot of wisdom and a lot of information that you want to grab a pen and a notebook, because she has been helping people find their voice, own their narrative, and achieve what they once thought was impossible. Now, wouldn't that be nice if you could actually rediscover yourself? And I think Janine is going to be giving us permission to be who we ought to be today. Now, why should she be the one speaking to you today? Well, who else has been representing Australia in international speaking competitions and who else has been guiding thousands to sales and speaking success? Now, Janine is a living testament to the power of confidence and clarity. And she's not just a coach, she's a mentor, an author, and she's written 2 impactful books, and somebody who's traveled the globe collecting inspiring stories and maybe a few stamps to her passport. She's actually just let me in on a little secret. In 2026, she's going to be going on a secret mission to a secret location. So she's going to be telling us all about that information. But in this episode, we're going to be exploring her journey from managing a high-performing sales corporate team and also building her own thriving business, Speech Perfect. Along the way, we'll also uncover the lessons, the challenges, the turning points that have actually shaped her path. Now, I think with these insights, this will be able to help you step up and stand out in whatever it is that you're doing. So by the end of this conversation, I think you'll understand why Janine's coaching is a game changer and how you too can achieve unshakable confidence. So buckle up, because I think this is going to be a story worth hearing. Now, Janine, I could go on and on. You see, I've known you for quite a while, so I could spill the beans of everything else.
I don't mind that, Prosper. You can build me up as much as you like. It's all good.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. Let's just start off with your early days. 50 years. Congratulations.
Yeah, I started when I was 6 months old. No, I left school at 15. I knew that. Actually, I was planning on going back to school. I got a job in the local supermarket and I earned $37 a week. As a 15-year-old, there was no way that I was going back to school. I mean, that was just silly money then. So that was a journey of realizing that I, always been enjoying people and enjoying working with people and have gone back and learnt a lot along the way, but formal school was not the place for me.
Well, absolutely. Now look at where you are right now, and quite a lot of the CEOs that we've gotten to, be familiar with. None of them really went any further with their education, and it's not necessarily the formal aspect of it, but it's what you become, which is what
Mm.
you have become. So you obviously left the $37 a week job, got your promotions, and ended up working in corporate.
Yes, it was not a. I always wonder whether corporate's the right word. It was a multi-million dollar privately owned business rather than a corporate position. It still had that same sort of, the intent. I had 40 staff and I had 20 sales team. So it was, it was a great job. It was a great responsibility.
I can only imagine because, handling such responsibility, teams and people, that would have been you in your element. Like you said, people were your gem. What was a typical day like for you, being the general manager in such a big business?
The typical day, that's a great question. Part of the role when I first started in that position was to secure, it was first aid supplies, and it was the largest privately owned first aid supply company in Australia. And part of when I first stepped into the role, the goals I set was to acquire all of the mining companies within Queensland. And I set out to do that. And I remember when I first started going to the Bowen Basin, I'd say fly into Rockhampton, and then a week later I'd fly out of Mackay. But within a few years, I was spending weeks there instead because I managed to secure every single business in that area. So sometimes I was out on the road like that, and that was a lot of joy to me. It meant that I'm really at the coalface, literally. They're all coal
Literally.
mines. Yeah. But I got to, meet the people that I was dealing with directly. And that's part of what I've loved about sales, is helping solve problems. When I was situated in the office, it was still solving problems, but it was at a different rate. It was, making sure orders were out, making sure my sales team were happy and that they kept the admin team happy. And it was all coordinating between, the different warehousing, admin and sales, and making sure that it all ran as smoothly as possible and we could deliver what we could deliver. In that time, also secured most of the councils within Queensland, particularly the large ones, and writing contracts. That was part of what I did also. So it was really varied, hence why I stayed there for so long, because one, it's paid well, and the other, which is always important, I was highly valued by the owner of the business. And I just love the variety in what I did. And I'm a bit competitive. You ask my husband, and the word "bit" might not be exactly the right definition. And I'm reasonably competitive, so I would, really work towards securing the businesses that I wanted to get. So that was my day, and just solving problems was most. And someone said to me years ago, the better you solve problems and the quicker that you make decisions, the more you'll get paid. And that was something that I've stuck to.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and thank you so much for telling, sharing that part of your journey, because the more decisions you can make, obviously the more responsibility you have. I would just
Mm.
maybe say this with utmost love and respect. If your job is just to flip a burger that's already in the grill, you're not making that many decisions. So obviously, yes, minimum wage will be the best recourse on that particular part. But you were making decisions in this high stakes environments back then. Wasn't this more of a male dominated sort of environment in and of itself?
The it, that particular role, there were two owners of the business, two gentlemen that owned it. And I remember I interviewed for a sales rep role there, and one of the men that had owned it interviewed me, and he said, "I see you're studying management. where do you see yourself in 5 years? There's no opportunity here. And rather than just thinking something, I said aloud, not realizing it, and I said, in your chair.
Okay.
Became a bit of a joke, and it was just under 5 years, and that's exactly where I was.
He still hired you
He still hired me.
and didn't try to sabotage you on your way up or anything else, or
Not
it
at
then
all.
became a dare for both of you then.
Yeah, one partner bought the other partner out, and his office became my office.
Wow, that would be something for the books right there. And congratulations
You
on
sort
that.
of think, am I saying this aloud? Oh, yeah, I did.
That's how competitive you were. You literally were gunning for the person who's interviewing you, and
Well, it wasn't thinking it was competitive then. It was more, I'm very much into manifesting and manifesting what you want to achieve and
yeah.
how I go about it. So I'm never competitive wanting others to lose. That's never, ever in my framework. If there has to be a winner and loser, I want to be the winner, but I don't want them to be the loser, if you get what I mean. I always want to do the best that I can possibly do and get the best results that I can. Oh,
Oh,
I don't mind losing, but I only if I know that I've done the best that I can, if
absolutely.
that
And
makes sense.
yes, absolutely. And I value that a lot because so much of who we can become, we actually stop ourselves just because we are not willing to go further. So, and I think
Mm.
if you just really give yourself that sort of permission, it will definitely yield the results. Now, obviously, if they appreciated you and you were doing all this work and you were enjoying it, why leave something that was good?
Throughout my entire career, I have always been, what do I want the next 10 years to look like?
Right.
When I, first left school at 15 and then changed a couple of jobs through then, I remember the first professional, because I'd always done academic subjects. So the first professional development that I ever did was went and did a typing course. Now, I think that's probably one of the most valuable courses I've ever done because of what I do on a daily basis now. So that
Mm.
it was always this, what do I want to do and what do I want to create and where I want to be. And I know when had a family, it was then go, and I remember the visions that come back to mind. I remember sitting on a train with a girlfriend and we had two young children each. And we're just talking about what we want our lives to look like. And I never, and I don't want to say not satisfied just being a mum, but I always had to have more, always wanted more than that. And to be able to use my skills, my knowledge to the best of my ability. So I've always started planning. So while I had young children, I went and studied to become an aerobic instructor. So I did the second fitness leaders course that was ever through Queensland. So I taught aerobics for 10 years. But while I was teaching, and that worked well with children and young children and in primary school children. And then while I was doing that, I started studying management and got the sales rep job. And then preparing for my own business. So I started my own business on the side because I wanted to be able to have that flexibility, which even though I loved what I did, it was very, very high pressure stakes. And I wanted, what was my 50s going to be looking like was really what that plan was.
Mm.
And so started that on the side. And as I came to the end of working for that company, I convinced the owner of the company it would be a great idea if I worked a 5-day fortnight instead. And that way I could really step more into my business also, which I did for a few years. And he moved, sort of stepped back a bit, and they brought an operations manager in who did not quite understand the concept of looking after staff and looking after customers. And this was 2018, and I said, you know what? I don't need to be here. it was very hard. I was earning more on a 5-day fortnight than most people do in a week. And it was really hard to step away from that. But the trauma of working in that environment, and I was very much aware of how if you have that sort of stress, it can cause dis-ease.
Yes.
And so I'll say this often to people: you either get hit with a feather, a brick, or a bus. And I prefer to get hit with a feather to know that's time to move on. So June 18, I decided to call that quits with that and then step full-time into the business I'd been building on the side and creating content and contacts and been working in it as well.
Wow.
That's why.
So many people would have been looking at that and thinking, oh, you know what? I think there's a statement in Australia that's, oh, she'll be all right. And then they would have just stuck it through. But I like how you've associated not being able to feel well or do well with dis-ease. And that alone is what really takes a lot of people out. And kudos for you for choosing yourself. And I'm also going to take that statement, flower, brick, or
a feather, brick, or feather, a brick, or a bus. And it was important to recognize that, because I had the business going on the side. So it's that 10-year preparation. And then from there is what my 60s look like now. And the 60s, and I said to someone the other night, I was at an event, and they said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I have a lifestyle business." And it came across as lifestyle, selling holidays or things like that. It's not. I just go on a lot of holidays in amongst work.
I would say I'm the one that lives the lifestyle. But obviously, I mean, I know you said you had, a bit of a runway in preparation to getting started with your business. But on day one, when you were completely on your own and it was just Janeen and the world, what was that like?
That was fine for a few months. It was not a problem. And November, so that was June, and in November, I hit this funk, and it's really out of character for me. And it was only a couple of weeks, fortunately, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? I was working with clients. I run mastermind groups, so I was in contact with people. I'm involved in a lot of different networking groups. I was always involved with people. So it wasn't that the extrovert in me was missing out on that. It was missing out on colleagues of the same level, if you get what I mean. I had done a lot of training over the years myself. So I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, as most business owners do, in upskilling themselves. And I think it was part of that, stepping into that, okay, so where's my mentor or coach? But where are people on my level as well? I think that was definitely what I was missing. But once I realized that, I could rectify it, or I could just be aware of it. It didn't matter. It was fine. But then, so 18, we decided we were going to go to Europe for 3 months in 19, as you do. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time in 18. I booked all Airbnbs or B&Bs right across, and that's very, very time consuming, doing that in 75 nights. I had to fill in a cruise and car hires and all this sort of thing. And I calculated, so I thought, I'm not investing the time in the business as I should be, inverted commas. And then I realized that by doing it, I'd saved $75,000 in doing everything myself rather than going through tours. And we had much better time because we did it ourselves and did what we liked. So sometimes that's really important as well. You need to be aware that what seems like a waste of time is not necessarily so. It was important for us to do that because no one expected 2020. It was when, you sort of meant to come back and the whole thing's kicking off. And
I I was literally counting the days and I was like, wait a minute. This is you having left your business, almost getting started, and you're coming back home to grand opening, grand closing. Yeah. How did that go for you during that time?
Again, preparation.
Mm-hmm.
I had a VA that was doing, I had prepared. I'm a bit obsessive, Prosper, in this preparation field, but it's paid off in spades.
Mm.
I made sure that there's all scheduled posts out for the whole time that I was away.
Mm.
I have my own podcast, the We Are Women podcast. I had recorded and scheduled enough podcasts to cover while I was traveling as well. So it looked like I was here, really. And there's constant content going out in the world. I had started the We Are Women mastermind group, but I had other people run the different, it's only monthly, so I had other people step in and run that. And I had online training programs, which I'd written in 2018 in preparation for 19, and I'd sold some of these online training programs, and people were able to still purchase them and work through them. So it wasn't, the big earner that it is when I'm working full time in it, but there was all of this stuff going on. So people didn't forget me, really, is what I'm saying as well.
Absolutely. I mean, now that you think of it or say it, yes. I would remember seeing your stuff and your content, during that time. So that would have been you on holidays. So that's the reason why people say you should never envy or emulate anyone, because you never know what's driving their business behind the scenes, right?
Absolutely.
But obviously, with all this so far, I mean, I've known you for all this while. You have really accomplished so much. I mean, from publishing books to winning awards, and obviously being ahead of your time in most of the things that you have been doing. Which achievement would you say you're most proud of, and how has it actually started shaping your business now?
That's a really interesting question. Nobody has asked me that before. There's so many aspects to what I do. Each one has its own little space. I have competed in, as you mentioned before in the introduction, I competed in many speaking competitions and did represent Australia in 2013 and an international competition in Hawaii. So winning the Australian component of it was, a real, it was an accolade that I some things you sort of expect and other things you don't expect. And you had done well, but you still don't expect it. And then that chance to go to Hawaii to represent Australia was a great opportunity. But I've also coached a couple of international winners, and that brings me even more joy because I know that I'm behind them. It's not me that's out there. It's them achieving, but I know that I've contributed to it. So that's a bonus. Oh, there's been other awards. A couple of 2023. I'm based in Logan, in south of Brisbane, and I won a business to business for small business for the Logan Chamber Awards. And that was really unexpected because it's business to business is usually a larger company. And I was a finalist. There was only 4 finalists, which was very exciting to do that. And when they announced me as a winner, they said that it was such a great application that they had to create a separate category for small business to business and large. So that was super exciting. And it was so unexpected. And I remember I'm sitting at the table and I've used a few expletives because I really did not expect that to happen at all. I'm a bit like a goldfish, I really enjoy what I'm doing at that particular moment. There's great memories and there's, and as you said, a woman in a GM role in that era is a bit unheard of. and just having that success. And my husband, he had a great job, but he used to love it when we'd go to our accountant and I would be earning more than him, and he'd get really excited because he said, I just want to be kept. I want to be a kept man. So
who wouldn't? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. But I've had the opportunity through that to, travel to many countries around the world and really enjoy doing. I've just come back from Sri Lanka, actually a couple of weeks there, only a couple of weeks ago. And I still enjoy doing that, but that's given me that opportunity to do that as well. And I think with anyone, and this is when I talk to people about why are you working? What do you want? It can't just be a dollar value at the end of it. It has to be what is high on your values. And I've realized, it's changed over the years. I'm a grandmother of 5, and as opposed to, I'm a parent, adults now. So family is still in my top 5. And it's moved down a bit. It's not the same as it was when they were younger. So I know my highest value is freedom. To have the freedom to use my voice, to have the freedom to choose what I want to do each day. That's to have, and so that caused a little bit of issues in 2020, that having freedom and having a voice out there. But also, is knowledge, and it's new experiences. That's really high on my value system. I have a statement that I'll say. I'll turn up to the opening of an envelope. It just, if anything looks interesting, I just go, because it's new experiences, it's knowledge, it's new people. So those things are really high on my values. So travel fits within that beautifully, because it gives me that chance to escape, but also have those new experiences. So I think that's probably one of the most important things that anyone at any age needs to realize. What's the highest components in your values? And really nail it down just to the top 2. And then, are you living that?
Absolutely. I quite love that. And congratulations on obviously creating a whole new category in the Logan Business awards there, because I think, now small businesses can also compete for that, because they wouldn't have just ended it with you there. Now, you talk a lot about traveling, and also your award that you won in Hawaii. That would have been a lot of confidence riding on you, because it stopped being about Janeen. It became about the country. So it literally became something that you had to carry on the heritage. And from what I've noticed, confidence is actually a core theme in the work that you teach other people, because speaking in front of an audience is just something else. What sort of strategies do you use to help people to break free from self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and just to embrace their authority? Because so many people, I think it was what's his name, the comedian who said, Seinfeld, he said some people would rather be the person in the coffin than the person who's actually saying the eulogy.
Yeah. Confidence, whether it's confidence in public speaking in front of 1,000 people, or in one-to-one in a sales conversation, or just having the confidence that you're in a meeting and you've got something worthwhile to say, to be able to go, hang on a minute, I have a voice. And that is something I am so passionate about, Prosper, is to enable people to have that voice. And that, it doesn't mean you have to shout others down. It just means that what you believe, what you think, the ideas you have, you are respected enough, that you respect yourself enough, I'll rephrase that you will use that voice and you'll make that comment. One of the things that I teach people to do is to do something every single day that makes them uncomfortable. Every single day. Find something that makes you uncomfortable. It might be chatting to someone stranger at the shops. It might be creating a video of yourself, or whatever it is, but every day do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. I have in one of the more private rooms in my house for the public. It's in the bathroom here. A big poster that's from Neil Donald Walsh that says "Life begins at the end of your comfort zone," and I have truly lived up to that my entire life. It's just there's things that make me uncomfortable that I just go and do it anyway. And there's not a lot of things that I fear anymore because of that. And it's just by doing something small every day. I don't believe actually there is anything such thing as a comfort zone. What I call that space where you live, where you won't step out of it, is a confinement of anxiety.
Yeah.
It's a bit different, isn't it?
Very. It's because the comfort zone is nice. It's cushy. There's cushions over there, and they're fanning you and feeding you grapes, and you don't want to leave. It's
Yeah. But just doing something that every day that makes you uncomfortable, you'll be amazed at how comfortable you can get at doing most things. Because nobody really cares who you are or what you're doing. If people walk into a room, into a party, and they're so focused on themselves, they'll be thinking, what is everyone else thinking about me? But everyone else in the room doesn't care because they're standing in their position going, I wonder what everyone's thinking about me. Nobody cares about you. I think this is probably the biggest realization for anybody. Nobody cares about you. So get over yourself. Because people are in their own world.
Well, but have you seen the kids these days? Everybody is so precious. The playgrounds have gotten softer. I was walking on the playground the other day, and I was actually knee deep in how cushiony it is, and I don't think people are ready for that sort of a conversation. Maybe.
It's really. Yeah, I think it's probably one of the things that makes you the most comfortable about things is, who cares? Look, age helps. Age helps a lot in
But I think it's also to do with traveling, Janine, because when you travel, you're going to a place where literally nobody knows you, and they don't care, and sometimes they don't even want you there, and it's just one of those things that just gives you a whole awakening of, wow, these people have been functioning, doing whatever they've been doing, and had I not crossed their path this second, they wouldn't even know of my existence, and when they go past me, that's it. You know what I mean? I think
unless I take 400 selfies, Prosper. That's the issue. Look, I'm on social all the time because that's part of what we do in business.
Yes.
But that's the issue, is this constant having to prove that you exist by, letting people know where you are, what you're doing.
Yeah,
and
wow. Yeah, I love that. Nobody cares, right?
Nobody cares.
But sometimes you say when you enter a room, people don't know what to say, and that's also part of what you help people with, the whole story
definitely
bit. Maybe somebody could walk in and have 2 or 3 things up their sleeve that maybe you can suggest, just in case that sort of happens to them and they are freezing as soon as they walk outside of their comfort zone, so to speak.
And that's one of the things that is really uncomfortable to do, is to walk into a room and people are talking in groups of 2 or 3 or more, and to walk up to one of those groups. And I think I'm just thinking back to the networking event I was at the other night. It was a social event. I knew quite a few people in the room, but I didn't want to talk to the people I knew. I wanted to talk to the people I didn't know. So that again, that makes you uncomfortable. So doing that's a little activity that you can do. So there's groups of a couple of people, and walking up to the group and saying, do you mind if I join you? It's so simple. It's that simple. Do you mind if I join you? Can you imagine anyone saying, say, no, bugger off? You can't. Nobody's going to say, no, go away.
Wow.
Most people will just say, because if you just go up and stand there, that's really awkward.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you say, do you mind if I join you? People go, no. And they may continue their conversation. And if they've got someone in the group, that someone like myself, who would be then going, oh, Prosper, I was just chatting to Bob here about blah. And Bob was just explaining it. So I would then include that into the conversation so that at least they'd know what was going on. Not everyone is skilled to do that in the group, but that's fine. It's just then being able to stand and try and pick up the conversation, or they may say, tell it, oh, hi, Prosper, tell us about yourself.
But Janeen, we've always been teaching our kids stranger danger. Unless it's Halloween, then they give you candy.
And you can do whatever you like. I love it.
And so I think for the 364 days, we're telling them stranger danger, and then one day it's okay. And I'm thinking that sort of grows on people, doesn't it?
It does. The facts is, though, most children are harmed by the people they know, not strangers. Just making that as statistically, it's much, much higher to do that. But that's okay. That's a good question. Let me think about that. We're told not to talk to strangers. Oh no, get over it.
I was gonna give you time to think about it, Janeen. Like, for real, we're not running out of time here. It's just
it's again, it's thinking about yourself. And this is why I've done so well in sales, and that's why I've been successful in growing businesses to multi-million dollars in sales. It's not about me. It's never about me. It's always about how I can serve the client, how I can help them achieve their goals, how I can, the first aid, keep them safe. It's all about that. So again, in those situations, it's not about me. It's how I can contribute to a conversation, or how I can, it's, and when you really get out yourself, it's very powerful.
I think it was Zig Ziglar that said, help enough people get what they want, then you will definitely get that which you want. And when we were growing up, we were always told, if you want to go far, yeah, you could go alone. But if you want to go further, you go together, you collaborate with people. And how are you going to get that going if you're not speaking to people? So that's absolutely amazing. Now, Janeen, how can people get a hold of you? And, for those that are inspired by your story but unsure where to start, where can they start?
There's multiple ways. If they, are loving listening to a podcast, as they do with the Online Prosperity Show, then they can listen to the We Are Women podcast, which has been going for about 8 years, 175 episodes so far. And I interview women from all around the world. So don't sort of just think about it's just for women. It is for anyone. And there's a whole lot of topics. It's about business. It's about health and mindset. So it's improving all those different components within ourselves. And I've interviewed women, as I said, from all around the world who've got amazing things to contribute. So you can find that on any of your normal show podcast channels. It's We Are Women.
Absolutely.
If you if you're based in Southeast Queensland or south, around the Brisbane area, I run a We Are Women mastermind group once a month. And we get together and I offer ideas on different topics. And then you actually get a space where you can spend 10, 15 minutes talking about yourself and your business with 2 or 3 other people, and the issues, either the subject I've taught on or something that's happening within your business. And there's incredible brain trust in that space. And, Napoleon Hill was a huge advocate of
Mastermind.
masterminds, because we can't do things yourself. You just said that, Zig Ziglar. My website is janeenvosper.com, and anyone can go on there and book a complimentary 30-minute conversation with me, so we can figure out how I might be able to assist you in achieving your goals. And if I can't assist you, then I have a huge database of people that I can recommend that might be able to do that. I'm on LinkedIn. I have posts going up daily right across all my socials, either educations, blogs. Blogs. If you go to my website, you can download a free ebook, and then you'll be registered to receive my weekly blog, which has a training component to it of a particular subject, as well as what's been going on in my week, being interviewed with Prosper. There we go. That's one of the things that I'll probably talk about in my blog.
Absolutely.
And so LinkedIn. Sorry?
I'll sign up only if you promise that every blog and message you send me, there's a picture of you actually typing, not you in some beach in Hawaii traveling.
I can fake that typing photo anyway. Yeah, I'm just thinking. I've only got a few days planned away after Christmas, and then probably 5 weeks in March, April, May. But I'm thinking I'm missing some holidays in between that. I've been trying to figure out what I can do that doesn't work around school holidays, because I don't have to. So all across all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn in particular, I help people build their LinkedIn profiles. So it has a component that people will be engaged with it and want to connect with you as well. I run workshops, private coaching, mentoring, sales, speaking, LinkedIn. I've got one on I'm coming up on planning and goal setting, because I like to do that myself, and you achieve the results when you do that. So so there's lots happening. There's always lots happening.
I mean, your life story and your experience, definitely. I'll be putting all those links in the show notes so that people can obviously get a hold of you there. You see, I feel like I've known you forever. I feel like just because of your presence online and just how you're showing up and telling your story in the process and things of that nature. And I think that actually helps, because so many people have to introduce themselves every single time, and it's because they haven't done the homework. They haven't told their story, and they think it's nobody wants to hear it. But like what you have said, get over yourself. I should actually name this video "Get Over Yourself." I feel like I'm being told here. Kind of feel.
Okay. And really, I'm glad you mentioned the story, because that's one of the favorite things that I love doing, is helping people find their story. And when people say, I haven't got a story, and you don't have to have jumped out of a helicopter and broken both legs. It's not that sort of story. Most people don't recognize the value in all the stories they've got, and that once you figure out the purpose of telling a particular story, then you can then craft the right story for the right situation. And whether it's a short anecdote for a minute or it is part of a story. And I must mention, I run a retreat talking about joint venturing with people, a photographer and a stylist, and I help people with it's a personal brand and style retreat, and it's Airlie Beach. Next June is the next one. And I help people with their story. So I give you a formula and a framework to pull your story apart and write it. And then while we're on retreat, you're learning what colors you need to be wearing and what looks good on you, and the photographs are being taken. I edit all the stories and I pull it together as this. So we create a whole storybook with images and story for everybody that they can use, maybe as a speaker promotion or I had someone that the year before last she was going for CEO roles, and so she had a CV, but the story was what actually got her over the line to get the job, because it was the real person behind the CV. Plus, it's, Airlie Beach winter.
Absolutely. I will also,
You
if you've
can't
got
beat that.
if you've got a link to that, I'll definitely
Yeah.
add to the list. But from what you're saying, Janine, this is quite interesting because so many people are just caught up in their own heads and they don't actually expand and do their best because they haven't got the story to tell, and they feel like somebody has to give them permission to literally step out and be, do, and have who, the person they want to become. But from today, after watching this, you've literally given people permission to step
You've
out.
only you've only got this life to live. Although, some of us do believe in reincarnation and things like that. We won't even go down that track. But this moment in time is when you've got most opportunity. I was thinking about this. I've always said I want to live to 125. So I'm 65 now, just over halfway. We'll see how that goes. But it's a good goal. It's somewhere to aim for. It's cut-off point, I suppose. But how much can I do or achieve and get in that time, or whatever time there is, because time and health are the two biggest priorities in our entire life. Everything else doesn't matter except those two things. And, there's so many people I know that have got the resources, they've got family around them, they've got all the things, but their health is crap. Yeah. And they can't do the things that I can manage to do at 65. Or they don't have the right attitude, or they're living in fear, or, there's things that are holding them back from achieving. And don't be on the outside looking in at your own life. Step into it and really participate.
Absolutely. Now, Janine, have you heard that people actually live up to 500 years?
Yeah, I have, actually.
So 125, this is a toddler in terms of the living. But obviously, with what you have done, your life story, the work and the legacy that you have created, the books, the people that you have elevated, especially the people that you say you are behind and things of that nature, the ripple effect of that is 500 years all in all. So I can only imagine how much further you're gonna extend that, knowing what you know and knowing who you are becoming and have become. So this has been fascinating.
Thank you. The ripple effect. Can I just add a little story about the ripple effect? Thank you so much for bringing that up. One of my travels, I was out in a little town outback Queensland that's got a population of about 300 called Thargomindah. And the only internet I could get was at the information centre, and I was there working, and then I was also fiddling with the phone trying to change it up to Telstra, because you can only get Telstra out there, and use Boost. And one of the staff there saw that I was having issues with it. She said, I can help you with your phone if you want to do the work. Anyway, so she helped with the phone, and then the Gmail address came up, and it was wearewomen@gmail. And she said, I listened to a podcast called We Are Women. And I said, it's me, I'm Janeen. And so she's done the whole fan moment. And
man,
she said, listening to that podcast has absolutely changed her life. She's learnt that it has to be number one. She's learnt to be able to say no. She moved out of a situation that wasn't good for her and wasn't safe. She moved to Thargomindah, got this job, absolutely loves the town, the friends that she'd made. And we're in tears. We were both in tears as she's telling me this story. You do not know the impact you have on people. That ripple effect, it can be just, it's one of the reasons I put content out. It's one of the reasons I do what I do. I would never have known this except through providence, we were there in the same space at the same time, and I was able to receive that feedback. Why do I do what I do? That's it.
It had to
that
happen.
ripple effect.
It had to happen. And maybe you should go back and interview that lady now.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
So
I'm sure we'll get back to Thargomindah shortly, but it's
yeah, absolutely.
kilometers from here, so it's it's closer from Brisbane to Melbourne than it is probably to there.
Yeah, absolutely. You should interview her because it's people that come back to us and say, because of you, I did not give up. That is the reason why we have to do what we're doing, because I believe we're here to live, to learn, and to contribute. And just speaking of contribution, I don't know if you know my story. The teacher that got me to see that there's a world outside of Zimbabwe, and from there, she was an exchange student teacher from Australia, and I was about 13 years old when that happened. And at 28, I decided I wanted to come to Australia, and look at us now. So it's somebody who planted a seed back then that has now made all of this possible. So my role in the world is just to now become that seed for all the other people that I can help ignite that fire in people and everything that they're doing. So, wow.
And when you're doing that, Prosper, it's not work. It's you're living a joyful life. And I think that's all we can all aim for, isn't it? To live that joyful life. And by contributing, then, and they've done a whole lot of studies on depression and things like that. The more you contribute, the less depression you have. That's a very simplistic version of that. It depends how people take it and what they do with that. But it's a fact. You can't be depressed when you're helping someone else. How can you?
No, of course not. Because it's that thank you. It's that joy of seeing them doing something that they never thought they would. I mean, I viscerally believe in life. We're here to live, to learn, and to contribute. And looking at your life, obviously, you've lived 26 countries. Do you still have space in your passport, or do they now just, stamp you?
The passport expires every 10 years, so I've gone through a few passports.
Absolutely. So you've learned all the lessons, and now you're contributing to other people, and hence that lady and all the other people that might be listening to this episode right now. So on behalf of the people that will actually, first of all, get an opportunity to come to your retreat or just have listened to this particular episode, thank you. Thank you.
Most welcome. I love this sharing. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Prosper.
Absolutely. Now, what an inspiring conversation. I mean, I didn't want it to end, but everything has to come to an end. I mean, if you're listening right now, thank you so much. And you would have noticed that Janeen's journey is literally a masterclass in embracing change, finding your voice, and stepping into your power and stepping outside of your comfort zone. So many people are just in that little cocoon and they don't even know how much of a beautiful butterfly they can be if they just actually push themselves out of that comfort zone that they are living in. So if Janeen's story has sparked a fire in you, I'd encourage you not to keep this to yourself. Like you heard, she's all about impact. I want you to share this episode with somebody who could use a boost of confidence or just practical advice in building their brand. Now, I can't thank Janeen enough for the time that she spent on the call. If you have found value in what she's doing, follow the links that are in the show notes, and definitely, subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show so you can get more insightful content like this, because I think together we can actually explore, grow, and unlock our full potential. Janeen, thank you once again. For those that are watching, bye for now.